Have you ever noticed how truly wise people move through life? It's not in loud words or bold declarations, it's in what they don't say, what they choose not to do, and how they respond with grace, even in the face of chaos. Especially in our later years, wisdom isn't about proving anything to anyone. It's about protecting our peace, nurturing our dignity, and making space for what truly matters. In this gentle reflection, we'll explore 9 quiet choices that wise people make, not out of pride, but out of clarity. These are the things they never say or do, not because they're weak, but because they've lived enough life to know better. Each of these choices can help you deepen your relationships, avoid unnecessary heartache, and live the rest of your life with the calm power of inner strength. And after these 9 guiding truths, we'll share bonus reflections from the second half of life, reminders to help you live fully, with joy and intention, in your golden years. Let's begin with the first one, something simple, but deeply powerful. 1. Wise people never share what isn't theirs to share. When Margaret retired to a peaceful lakeside town in upstate New York, she thought life would quiet down. But one afternoon, over coffee with some new friends from her book club, someone began sharing private details about a neighbor's family. That's when Margaret did something rare these days: she stayed silent. Why? Because wisdom knows that some stories aren't ours to tell. Truly wise people understand the sacredness of trust. When someone confides in you, be it a son opening up about a tough decision, or a friend revealing a hidden struggle, that trust becomes a bond. And wise hearts don't break bonds for the sake of gossip, entertainment, or momentary closeness. They know a moment of carelessness can cost a lifetime of respect. Think about it. We all have stories we'd only share with those who've earned our deepest trust. The pain of having those stories passed around? It cuts deep. That's why wisdom whispers, be the one who keeps confidences safe. This isn't just about being polite, it's about being a person others feel safe with. It's about becoming the kind of friend, grandparent, or neighbor who people can count on for quiet strength, not loose lips. Practical reflection: before repeating something, ask yourself, is this mine to share? If the answer is no, choose silence. That silence becomes your strength and your legacy. 2. Wise people never speak harsh words in anger. James, a retired Navy veteran from Charleston, South Carolina, once shared something unforgettable with his grandson. Son, I fought in battles, but the worst damage I ever caused was with words I spoke when I was angry. That quiet confession carried more weight than any war story. As we get older, many of us realize the words we say in the heat of the moment can echo for years. We remember the hurt on a spouse's face, the silence that followed a thoughtless remark to a child, the friendship that slowly faded after one too many sharp comments. But wise people, they've learned the power of the pause. They know anger is a storm, fast, loud, and blinding. And when you're in a storm, you don't drive forward, you pull over and wait. In the same way, wisdom teaches us to be still, to breathe, and to let that storm pass before we speak. Harsh words can't be unsaid. And the older we get, the more we understand that preserving peace is far more important than winning an argument. Even a short silence in the heat of emotion can save a relationship. You may still feel hurt or disappointed. That's real. But letting the dust settle before you respond gives you time to choose words that build up rather than tear down. Gentle practice: if anger rises, excuse yourself, go for a walk, sip water, pray, or simply be quiet. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. In fact, the strongest people are the ones who can hold their tongue when it matters most. Because at the end of the day, love lasts longer than pride. And wise people never trade love for the fleeting satisfaction of being right. 3. Wise people don't rush to judge others. In a quiet neighborhood near Sedona, Arizona, lives a woman named Clara, 82 years old, kind-hearted, and known for her gentle smile. She once told a group at her church women's circle, "You never really know a person's story until you sit beside them in silence." That wisdom came from a lifetime of learning what many of us realize too late: snap judgments can be deeply unfair, even cruel. When we're younger, it's easy to assume. A neighbor who never smiles must be unfriendly. A young man covered in tattoos must be trouble. A single mother must have made bad choices. But with age comes deeper vision, the kind that looks past appearances and into the heart. You see, wise people pause. They wonder what pain someone might be carrying. They understand that people often wear masks to survive, not to deceive. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with them?" they ask, "What might they have been through?" It's easy to criticize. But it takes real strength to withhold judgment, to extend grace instead. And here's the surprising part: when you hold back that first impulse to judge, you create space for connection. You discover stories you never expected: courage, heartbreak, resilience, hope. That person you once misunderstood may become your friend, your helper, or even your greatest blessing. Gentle practice: next time you're tempted to form a quick opinion, say silently to yourself, "They're doing the best they can with what they've been given." That one sentence opens your heart and transforms your perspective. Because the truth is, we all want to be seen fully and fairly. And wise people give that gift without needing to be asked. 4. Wise people don't use words that damage someone's honor. In a small cafe tucked near the boardwalk in Charleston, South Carolina, Henry, age 77, sits quietly sipping his morning coffee. The waitress, new and nervous, spills a bit of cream on his saucer. Her face flushes with embarrassment. Henry just smiles warmly and says, "Don't worry, sweetheart. We all have our days." It's not just that he's kind. It's that Henry knows the power of words. And he's made a choice, every day, not to use them as weapons. Wise people never speak words that rob another of dignity. They understand something life teaches slowly: once a word is spoken, it cannot be taken back. A sharp comment might last seconds from your lips, but it can echo for years in someone else's heart. And this isn't just about avoiding gossip or harsh criticism. It's about choosing not to humiliate, shame, or belittle, even when you think someone deserves it. Because wise elders know that how you speak about others reveals more about you than about them. In a world quick to mock and slow to forgive, speaking with grace and restraint is a radical, healing act. Real wisdom is found in the person who could have embarrassed someone, but didn't. Who could have won the argument, but chose peace. Who could have told the hard truth in a cruel way, but softened it with compassion. Here's something to reflect on: the people we remember most fondly in life are not always the smartest or the most successful. They are the ones who made us feel safe, seen, and honored, even in our worst moments. So let your words be a shelter, not a storm. And remember, it takes no talent to tear someone down, but it takes deep wisdom and heart to lift someone up, especially when it would be easier not to. 5. Wise people don't judge someone's background or circumstances. In a cozy neighborhood outside of Flagstaff, Arizona, Margaret, age 72, loves hosting Sunday dinners. She opens her home to neighbors, friends from church, and sometimes even people she's just met. One evening, she invited a quiet young man named Andre, a dishwasher from the diner down the road, who always left the biggest tip jar smile but had never really been spoken to. Some guests raised their eyebrows. "You don't even know his background," someone whispered. Margaret only replied, "I don't need to. I know his kindness." That's wisdom. Because Margaret, like many who have lived full, rich lives, understands that where someone comes from does not define who they are. Wise people don't measure others by their bank accounts, degrees, or family names. They've seen too much in life to fall for that illusion. They know that character, not circumstance, reveals someone's true worth. Maybe you've been underestimated before, perhaps because of how you dressed, what your job was, or where you grew up. And maybe, like many wise souls, you learned that a kind word can come from a struggling heart, and cruelty can wear a polished suit. That's why elders with grace don't rush to label or look down. They know that compassion reaches further than judgment ever could. They also know that no one chooses the family they're born into, and everyone deserves the chance to rise beyond their beginnings. So they choose empathy over assumptions. And when you live this way, when you look past appearances and honor the human story behind each face, you not only gain wisdom, you give dignity. That's a legacy far richer than any inheritance. Let's be the ones who open doors, not close them. Who reach out, not point fingers. Because the true measure of a person isn't what they came from, it's who they choose to become. 6. Wise people don't dismiss others based on education or intelligence. A few years back in Savannah, Georgia, there was a retired school principal named Mr. Albert who often sat on his front porch, sipping sweet tea and chatting with passers-by. One summer afternoon, he struck up a conversation with a teenager mowing lawns in the neighborhood. The boy spoke with a thick accent and didn't use proper grammar. Some folks might have brushed him off. But not Mr. Albert. He listened intently. He asked questions. And when the conversation ended, he smiled and said, "You've got a good head on your shoulders and a kind heart." That matters more than a fancy degree. Because wise people know something the world often forgets: book smarts don't equal soul smarts. Education is valuable, of course, but it's not the only way people gain wisdom. Many of us have known folks with little formal schooling who could fix anything, grow anything, or calm any child's heart. We've also met highly educated people who lacked empathy, humility, or common sense. Wisdom that comes from life, from struggle, from loss, from survival, is just as rich, if not richer, than what's found in textbooks. Wise elders don't look down on those who didn't go to college or speak in polished sentences. Instead, they see the deeper lessons: work ethic, curiosity, resilience, and grace. And even more importantly, they stay teachable themselves. Because they know learning never ends. Whether it's from a child explaining how to use a smartphone or a mechanic sharing how to fix a faucet, humility is a sign of a truly wise heart. When we judge people by their diplomas or vocabulary, we shrink our world. But when we welcome every voice and every story, we grow our hearts and our understanding. So let's be the generation that asks more than it assumes. That learns from everyone. That values the soul, not just the resume. Because in the end, wisdom isn't found in what you know, but in how you treat others. 7. Wise people don't boast or exaggerate their achievements. In a quiet neighborhood near Sedona, Arizona, lived a woman named Grace. At 74, she was admired by everyone in her community. Not because she had the biggest house or the fanciest car, but because she was humble, warm, and made everyone feel seen. Most folks didn't know that Grace had once been a renowned nurse, traveling the world and leading medical missions in war zones. She delivered babies under candlelight in Kenya and helped build clinics in remote villages. She never brought it up. When asked about her past, she'd smile gently and say, "Oh, I've lived a full life. Tell me about yours." Grace understood something that many learn too late: bragging builds walls, humility builds bridges. Wise people don't need to boast because they are secure in who they are. They let their kindness, steadiness, and quiet confidence speak for them. You see, when we exaggerate or boast, we may win momentary attention, but we lose something deeper: trust. People can sense when words don't match reality, and over time, that erodes respect. Instead, wisdom lies in living genuinely. Your life story doesn't need embellishment. Every scar, every triumph, every humble lesson holds real weight. And often, your presence, how you love, how you help, is the greatest legacy of all. Wise elders uplift others. They don't try to one-up. They celebrate others' joys without comparing or minimizing. They know that life isn't a competition. It's a shared journey. So let's remember, real strength doesn't shout, it shows up. And a life well lived doesn't need to be broadcast to be respected. It only needs to be lived with love, purpose, and quiet dignity. 8. Wise people don't waste energy explaining themselves to those who refuse to understand. In a cozy cottage nestled along the Blue Ridge Mountains, 78-year-old Howard sat on his porch most mornings, sipping his coffee and watching the mist roll through the valley. Folks in town often called him Quiet Howie, not because he didn't have much to say, but because he knew when not to say it. There was a time when Howard tried to explain himself to everyone, why he didn't remarry after his wife passed, why he left a high-powered job to open a small repair shop, why he didn't attend every family gathering. But he learned, slowly and painfully, that some people don't listen to understand, they listen to judge. And so, one day, he stopped over-explaining. Not out of stubbornness, but out of peace. Wise people know this truth: not everyone will understand your path, and that's okay. You don't have to explain your heart to people who've already made up their minds. It's a quiet kind of strength to let your actions speak louder than words, to remain rooted in your truth without needing validation. As we grow older, we discover the deep freedom of letting go of the need to be understood by everyone. The right people, your people, will know your sincerity by the way you live, not the words you use to defend it. Instead of trying to convince others of your worth, live it. Be kind, be consistent, be present. That's more powerful than any argument could ever be. And in that stillness, that quiet acceptance of who you are, you'll find peace. You'll find freedom. Because wisdom isn't loud. It simply walks forward with grace, regardless of who's watching. 9. Wise people don't burden others with unnecessary requests. In a sunlit apartment overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge lived Mrs. Evelyn Carter, age 83, a retired teacher and a quiet force of independence. Her children often offered to do things for her, run errands, cook meals, even help her change a light bulb. But Evelyn always responded with a warm smile and said, "Let me try first." It wasn't pride. It was self-respect. Over the years, Evelyn learned that asking for help is not a weakness, but asking without thought, too often, can quietly erode the balance in a relationship. Wise people understand that everyone is carrying something. Whether it's a job, a worry, or their own health challenges, no one's plate is truly empty. Evelyn's approach was simple: ask only when needed, appreciate deeply when given, and do what you can for yourself with joy and gratitude. It wasn't about being stubborn, it was about being considerate. She wanted her children to visit because they wanted to, not because they felt obligated. Wise elders like Evelyn know that small, unnecessary requests can, over time, wear down even the strongest bonds. But when help is sought with care and received with thanks, it strengthens the ties that matter most. They also understand the power of giving, even in old age, offering advice, warm meals, or a listening ear. Because love is not measured by what we receive, but by what we choose to give freely. So, let us move through life as Evelyn did, with grace, self-awareness, and the kind of independence that lifts others, rather than leans on them. The gentle practices of a life well lived. By the time we reach our golden years, we begin to realize something profound: peace is not found in noise or reaction, but in quiet choices made with love, patience, and intention. The following reflections offer a softer, deeper way to live as we continue aging with purpose and grace. 1. Keep your ears quiet. In the words of Confucius, at 60, I could hear without being disturbed. By now, we've learned that not every word deserves a reaction. Gossip, criticism, or idle chatter used to upset us, but now, we simply smile and let it pass like waves against the shore. We've earned the wisdom to protect our peace by choosing what not to hear. 2. View life with a tolerant I know two people walk the same path. We may not always agree with how others live, think, or change, but the wise understand that love and harmony matter more than being right. A tolerant heart is a generous one, full of empathy, not ego. 3. Value your meals. Nourish your body. To enjoy a meal is to honor your life. Don't skip meals to save money or eat in worry. Let food be a joy, not just fuel. It's a sacred act of self-care. Sit down. Light a candle. Savor it. You deserve nourishment and pleasure in every bite. 4. Move every day, even in small ways like water that flows or an axle that turns. The body that moves stays young at heart. Stretch gently. Walk slowly. Dance to your favorite old song. Movement is medicine. It keeps your soul smiling and your heart open. 5. Calm the mind. Balance the heart. It's easy to get swept up in emotions, especially when life doesn't go as planned. But you've learned everything passes. Let go of what you cannot change. Hold tight to your peace like a cherished friend. A calm spirit is your true strength. Final thoughts, the quiet legacy of grace and wisdom. As we reach this beautiful stage of life, the truth becomes ever clearer. The way we choose to speak, to listen, to act, and even how we hold back, shapes the peace we experience and the legacy we leave behind. We no longer need to prove ourselves, raise our voices, or rush to correct others. Instead, we've discovered a greater power in restraint, in compassion, and in quiet dignity. The 9 principles we explored, and the bonus reflections that followed, are not just habits, they are soul-deep values. They guide us to live with grace in a world that often forgets how beautiful stillness can be. When we protect someone's confidence, hold our tongue in anger, choose kindness over criticism, or simply sit in silence rather than forcing explanation, we are not doing less, we are doing more. We are choosing the path of wisdom. We are showing the world that aging isn't about fading into the background, but about rising with calm purpose. Dear friend, let every day you live be a quiet but powerful statement of who you are, someone who has loved deeply, endured with strength, and grown into the kind of person others trust and admire. This is your time to lead by example, not loudly, but gracefully. If this message touched your heart, we'd love to hear from you. Share in the comments one lesson you've embraced or something you plan to practice in your own life. And if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us keep creating heartfelt content that inspires and uplifts our growing community of wise, wonderful souls like you. Red Heart Hash. Until next time, live well, speak gently, and shine softly.